Tom, how does the organization identify strategies and employ tactics to deal with its high-risk population?
Well, one of the things we really try to do is make sure we have the voice of the quote-unquote customer, the individuals in the high-risk communities. One of the things that we were really lucky to have happen for us was several years ago, a local group, Jacksonville Community Council Incorporated, which is a local think tank, decided to look at infant mortality. Well, the coalition leadership convinced JCCI to look into infant mortality as one of our study topics. Part of that study came out to show that there is a lack of understanding in the community of what infant mortality is. An outgrowth of that was the Healthy Start Make a Noise, Make a Difference social marketing campaign. We decided to look into ways in which to get our message out to the affected communities. And one of the things we decided to do as part of that was to use a methodology to go to that community and ask individuals, what do you know about infant mortality? I mean, going back to my own personal experience, I'm a dad of a preterm. My daughter was a preemie. She was born 2 pounds 14 ounces. And I really didn't understand a lot about infant mortality at the time. Even knowing in my ministerial duties, the first funeral I did as a minister was for a child that didn't make it to their first birthday. It was a preterm baby. And it was a difficult situation to minister in that situation, but then to come take a step back and be informed that it wasn't just that one, it was so many in our community. So part of the social marketing campaign was to go out and ask individuals, what do you know about infant mortality? And the questions were answered in ways that I personally never thought that I would hear. People just didn't know infant mortality was an issue. We were looking at it on a one-to-one basis. Everyone said that it was something that, you know, it was God's will. It was just a circumstance. Just recently, someone brought to mind a saying that when one fish shows up dead in a river, you look at that fish. 20 fish show up, you start looking at that river. We didn't, at that point in time as a community, really understand that each infant death was a part of a continuum that we had going on here. And we were able to look at it in the context of, and actually part of the social marketing campaign was to receive that information and then put it back out to individuals in the community. So now if you go out in our community and you ask individuals in the African American community, what is infant mortality, you have a greater chance of someone saying that's a baby dying before their first birthday. That's something that shouldn't happen in our community, and we need to start working harder and harder to get that information. Just as a side note, we just got out of a recent campaign for mayor and city council, and one of the questions that the local newspaper had asked the individuals in a questionnaire was, what do you plan to do about infant mortality? It's showing us that the needle has now moved, that the community understands that infant mortality is a seminal indicator of the general health and welfare of our community. So now the word is out there, and when we want to take the opportunity to say that we would not be there if we hadn't first gotten that information from the community. And now we're able to feed back to the community so that they understand what our general response should be into making sure that we're doing all we can to make sure our babies have a well-birth outcome and see their first birthday and many more birthdays after that.
Excellent.